it's Valerie Upham, and I am here with my really good friend and certified chef, Betsy Mains. One of my listings here in North Claremont. We've got a beautiful kitchen, so we thought we would take advantage and show it off. Since the holidays are next week, we wanted to share some tips and tricks for your family. I hope you get a lot of great information tonight as we watch Betsy do her thing, and she's going to tell us what she's going to make.
Great. Well, I'm going to do some different takes on some classic Thanksgiving recipes. I'm going to start off with making some gougères. If you don't know what gougères are, the dough is actually the same dough that's used to make eclairs and cream puffs and churros. It's called a pâte à choux dough, and a gougère is just a savory version of that, so you can use that in place of an ordinary dinner roll. It really spices things up. I'm also going to make something called corn maque choux. This is a jazzier version of a creamed corn. It's actually got some Creole roots, so there's a little bit of spice to it, a little more flavor than your classic cream corn. It's been a staple at our Thanksgiving table for many, many years. The other thing I'm going to make is some gravy, and I have some mashed potatoes here. I wanted to show you kind of a quick and easy trick for making your mashed potatoes ahead of time. And I'll tell you some of my tricks for making those, and also a make-ahead gravy that you can do so that you can save yourself at the very end from a lot of stress. So the first thing I'm going to do, I have made some fortified stock. Basically, this is just chicken stock. I started off with 4 cups of it, and I boiled it down or reduced it down to 2 cups, and that's going to make the stock really, really flavorful. And so I'll use the fortified stock here today. This can be done days in advance if you want. So I'm going to go ahead and get this heating up. So I'm just going to get this simmering for our gravy here. Get that heated up. The other thing I'm going to get going here is a double broiler. I've just filled this up with a little bit of water for my mashed potatoes, and this is how I'm going to reheat them. Again, I made these mashed potatoes last night, so you can stick them on. These can be made, if you're making them the night before, I would start heating this about an hour before you are ready to actually serve. But if you're just making them on the day, you can make them a couple hours, leave them at room temperature. Just go ahead and get them simmering ahead of time. So the next thing about gougères is a hot dough. And so you start off on the stove, you heat it up, and then we're going to put it into the KitchenAid stand mixer. The one thing about gougères is you do have to work fairly quickly. So I'm going to kind of talk through it, but once it starts to go, I'm going to work fairly quickly on the gougères. So I've pre-measured everything. Please do the same for yours. So for now, I've just got 4 eggs. I've got my cup of milk. Butter. This is not the time to be weight conscious if you don't want gougère one, but we're going to use a lot of butter in this dish, so you just have to sit with that. I'm also going to make an egg wash. The egg wash will be used to give a nice shine at the end when we're baking.
While you're doing that, should we all do a toast to the holidays? And thank you, Betsy, for coming and putting this on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is Betsy. Cheers. 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 Cheers.
Cheers. So back to the mashed potatoes. How far in advance can you make them?
I mean, mashed potatoes you can make those up to a couple days ahead of time if you want. One thing I'll say about mashed potatoes, I always use a masher or a ricer. A lot of the recipes I'll see call for using a hand mixer. Mm-hmm. The problem is the more you manipulate potatoes, I don't know if you've ever had mashed potatoes that come out really gummy, mm-hmm. where they sort of come out like really long and gooey instead of light and fluffy, and that's because the potatoes have been overworked. So I always you want to manipulate the potatoes as little as possible.
And then back to the potatoes, what kind of potatoes? Are those red or white?
So do you guys know the difference between the potatoes? Would you like me to tell you a little bit about potatoes?
It is the holidays.
Okay. Okay. So you can use different kinds of potatoes. The russet potatoes are going to be your standard baking potatoes. A lot of recipes call for russets. They're going to make kind of a nice, fluffy kind of potato. The gold potatoes are a little sometimes they're like waxier. They're going to be used, sometimes they're used if you're going to roast them whole. I used gold potatoes here. They have a buttery flavor. They're less powdery, for lack of a better word. They're a little more waxy, and they're going to have a buttery flavor. The white potatoes are the potatoes that have red skinned with white inside. Those are not good for mashed potatoes. Those are better for roasted potatoes or potatoes that are
And you skin them, right?
Yes, you don't have to, but you can. But I do.
I leave the skins on there really on my white.
Some people, that's a preference.
That's why I like them, because you don't have to peel them.
So this is kind of.
And they taste good.
So I'm assuming all chefs hate microwaves.
No.
But what is why do it that way instead of just warming it in the microwave?
Well, you can if you want to do that. Microwave cooks unevenly, of course, and the microwave is the last minute. The idea behind doing this is that the last 15 minutes, I don't know how your Thanksgiving is, but the last 15 minutes is like, get out of the kitchen! You know, it's like, I'm in a disaster mode, right? Everything's coming out, everything needs to be sliced, everything needs to be hot, and I don't want to be futzing with potatoes. So this cooks unevenly, I can stir it throughout, it's ready to go, I don't have to worry about the potatoes. This is kind of an interesting dough, and you'll see when we pipe it, it's kind of a little bit strange, but these are little puffs from heaven. You can make gougères with anything that you want. You can do them sweet, you can put a little slice of banana and a little dollop of Nutella, make little Nutella puffs. You can do savory, you can do chipotle, this is Gruyere and Parmesan. So definitely on the savory side, but there's all sorts of recipes. Thyme, little puffs, you can make any different kinds. So there's a ton of recipes for gougères out there.
Is it similar to crepes where you can do savory and sweet? Like is a taste that can go either direction?
Yes. And this is the dough that is used for cream puffs, and it's also the dough that's used for eclairs and churros.
Ah. So is there a difference along the way that determines if it's going to be a churro versus an eclair versus the gougère?
Well, how you pipe it and what you put in it.
Ah, okay.
So this is coming together. I don't know if you won't be able to see it here, but it's coming together here pretty quickly, and it's going to start sort of sticking to the pan, for lack of a better word. It's going to start kind of coming together and I'll try and show you here, but I need it on the heat. So it's going to start to kind of come together, stick to the pan, sort of come together. Oh, do you see what I'm looking at here?
Sure.
Okay, now we gotta work fast. So I'm gonna stick that in. Add the eggs. Add the cheese. Now we're just gonna get this until it's smooth. This is a weird dough. It's not gonna look like what you're used to seeing. I'm gonna enlist your help.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna have you tilt the bowl for me and I'm gonna go ahead and scoop it on in here. Let's hope none of it ends up on the floor. These can be just little tiny puffs. So I'm just adding this in turns. This is one of those things that if you have 15 minutes at the end of your meal, this is what you're doing. This has to be made kind of at the last minute. You can keep it for some time, but again, because it's going to be thickened, we don't want it to become gummy. So this, and corn is a starchy vegetable. It's releasing starches as it cooks. It can become gummy. So now I'm going to add some cream here. We don't want that. So we're going to add this. Now we're going to add I'm going to add the thyme. Where's my thyme? I'm going to add these at the end.
We all need more time.
Now this recipe calls for, this is a good Creole recipe, this recipe calls for some hot sauce or some Tabasco. I don't like a whole lot of hot sauce, so I don't use a whole lot, but you can.
Is that Tabasco?
This is sriracha. I'm just going to add a little tiny bit. Okay, so I need to add my flour. So this is making a roux, essentially. I've got a lot of butter in here. Onions are nice and brown.
They are brown. Holy cow.
Nice and brown. But there's still butter in there, so I'm gonna add my flour to that and make my roux. And this you cook down, it'll start to thicken. You'll see it start to kind of get thicker here. So now I'm just gonna slowly add the warm stock, and it's gonna make my gravy. Okay, now this thickened immediately. Do you see how much that thickened?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'm gonna take this off the heat or just get it on a really low simmer, because I don't want it to continue to thicken. This is almost ready. We'll see how the gougères come out. And then I'll serve it up. I brought some turkey to have with the gravy as well.
I love that we can make the gravy in advance because, like you said, at the last minute, it's really stressful. You pull the turkey out, and then there's the carving of the turkey, and you want to get the gravy, and it's so important. We once had a Thanksgiving at our house. It was the first time Todd came to Iowa with my family, and they forgot the gravy. So Todd will never let me live that down. So gravy's pretty important at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. And my mom used to always add the flour directly too, so we always had lumpy gravy. And she always made it last minute. If you do make it, you can make it the day before if you want. If you do make it ahead of time, just heat it slowly. Too fast and it'll break, or it'll get that sort of, I don't know, grainy look, where it's just, again, it'll taste fine, but it'll have that sort of separated look.
So is it low, medium, and you don't ever have it simmer? It's
just real low heat. You can even do it over a double boiler if you want. It's just low heat to reheat it. Again, you can kind of fix it. No microwave. All right. Well, let's see.
I'll go.
These are not supposed to look like pancakes. They're supposed to be
Cookies?
So I guess you have
I can tell our neighbors that we do have cookies.
They didn't quite rise.
Totally. So here's some
I wouldn't
cookies.
know the difference. Hey, yeah, we totally do have cookies.
Now, if they turned out the way they were supposed to be, and I'm assuming some fluff ball, you said that the cheese would be in the middle. Does it gravitate and push it towards the middle?
No.
Or it's just the whole
If you
thing?
were going to make like a cream puff or something, you would open it up and put it in.
Oh, okay.
This will just be throughout for these purposes.
Oh,
Sorry, that was confusing. Okay, so I think our corn is ready here. The gougères are just,
Second batch almost ready.
yeah, they're kind of finishing up here. So now I'm going to add my herbs.
That would be good. Small, medium with that.
Yeah, I think that's you've discovered something, Betsy. That's
What?
good for like a charcuterie tray. Instead of crackers, you could have the flat
The
gougères.
little pancakes.
Yes.
Because I can't duplicate them. I have no idea what they are, but I must have left something out. I don't know. Maybe I didn't have enough flour. I was tired. What did I say?
So you added basil and
I added basil, green onion, and parsley.
I don't bake or cook with parsley very often. I use cilantro a lot.
Well, it's interesting that you said how much flavor it has, because a lot of times when I'll see a recipe with parsley, I'll choose to leave it out because it's a hassle, and I know I'm not going to use the entire bush or bundle, and I don't feel like it has that much flavor, and it gets in your teeth. So it's just easier to leave it out, but I guess we need to cut it more, like you said, chop it, obliterate it.
Right. Parsley is like on my top 5 list of things that I use like every day.
That's interesting.
Like-
I do cilantro. How is that? They're very different tastes, but where would you use cilantro then instead of the parsley?
Cilantro's got a very distinct flavor.
More like Mexican dishes and stuff.
Yeah, you know, I'm not, you know, you can have a genetic disposition to liking or hating parsley. For me, it tastes a little soapy. So
Parsley or cilantro?
Cilantro.
Ah.
Did I say parsley? I meant cilantro. So I tend not to cook a whole lot with it. I will almost always cut way down on how much I use.
Okay.
But parsley is just it's literally used in everything. It's used in stock. It's like one of the basic.
Italian, Greek,
Every
American.
Interesting, okay.
Oh, wow.
That's,
That's how the onions kind of,
but that's not the gravy.
Is that the gravy?
that's the gravy.
Oh, that is the gravy, so that's the texture.
Start serving here.
Smells really good.
Better than any Thanksgiving dinner I've made. Cranberry sauce. What are your feelings on that? Do you make it from scratch?
I get the Trader Joe's one. It's so good. Got a little turkey here.
This is good.
Excited to see the presentation.
Gravy. Oh, I'm gonna have to strain more, but maybe I'll just put it up with a little bit of onions in it. Yeah, if you want to.
I think there's several of us would be fine with the onion one.
Yuck.
That looks so good. Would have been fine.
Clean up these plates a little bit, but it is what it is.
Fantastic.
Oh, what am I toast? Okay, coffee pucks and all.
Bon appetit.
Yeah, thank you.
Great.
I hope it's good.
I'm sure it will be.
So here we go.
First bite, that was great.
I love the onions in it.
Do they taste any different to you?
They would normally be a little bit
Thicker.
lighter, yeah.
Really good.
Kind of more like a puff.
All of this food tastes absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful for Betsy Mains for creating this meal for us. From our family to yours, I want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.